We are going to talk about Toshiki Masuda's Origin, which is basically an album that I love a whole lot, his best album to date, but he only has released 2 albums so far in his solo career. But yeah, let's talk about this awesome, underrated gem of a pop rock album that very few talk about, but that has a stellar quality that you need to know about. So let's kick off this episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Welcome to SEIYUU Lounge. I'm your host Vanessa, and today's topic is, of course, we are covering Toshiki Masuda's Origin. This is his second full-length album, easily his best album to date. Not many of you may actually be aware of this album. Some of you may not even be into Toshiki Masuda's voice. Others may not even be into rock music. So I feel that this episode in some capacity will be something new for some of you. So I hope you enjoy this one. If you want to follow along, you can have the album playing in the background as I talk about the songs. If you don't, you can listen to this episode and then go listen to the album without any interruptions by me. So, let's talk about this album because I love this one and I feel that it didn't get as much love as it deserved. When it comes to Toshiki Masuda's music, you may not know this, but he is a rock artist through and through. He loves rock music, he performs rock music, although he has been known for performing pop music with many, and I'm not even kidding, many 2D music projects. He's a part of 10 or 12 different 2D music projects. Alongside him, Soma Saito and Toshiki Toyonaga are the SEIYUU with most roles or more roles in 2D music projects. So it is crazy how he's everywhere, and most of the projects he's a part of is performing pop music. However, when it comes to his solo music, he is a rock artist through and through. He may have shades of pop going on in his songs, but he's mostly an indie rock style of artist, more so than a pop rock one. I said pop rock in the intro, but he dives into both categories. So let's say he's a hybrid of an indie rock artist and pop rock artist, because his lyrics are not really that complex, so it strays a bit away from the indie scene with the weird lyrics or out-of-the-cuff compositions. So this was an album that took 2 years to be released, between the release of Diver, his first album, and then Origin when it dropped in 2021. We are talking an album that dropped in the last months of the pandemic. It was a crazy release, and to have an album like this dropping in a time in which people weren't even purchasing music because they were purchasing other stuff, more important stuff, this was kind of a risk, but I believe this was an amazing risk because the album dropped when barely any other music was dropping. The album sold a lot. It ranked really high on Oricon and sold so many copies, which is crazy. He is, alongside Mamoru Miyano and Soma Saito, the artist that most consistently sells a lot of albums above 10,000 copies. So this is something that Toshiki Masuda does without anyone even paying attention to or noticing, because every time he appears, he sells over 10,000 copies of his CDs, which is unreal. Aside from this part, which is the sales, and usually sales don't necessarily say that the album is good, just say that the artist is popular, let's dive a little bit into the album itself. The album kicks off with Hikari, which is the leading track for this album. I would say this is a sort of nostalgic, youthful, 4-piece rock band sound, which is really simple. It really is all to hit in your feels. It is a nostalgic sound that you would find in bands like Pornografiti back in the early noughties. And when I say Pornografiti, I will be talking about this band a lot. In case you actually don't know, they are legends in Japan when it comes to the pop rock scene. If you follow anime and you follow, for example, the Bleach anime series, you will find that most of their songs were actually featured in the anime. And they actually got a massive chunk of their popularity thanks to that, at least among the SEIYUU fans and anime fans. When it comes to the music itself, you know that I would say Flow and Pornografiti are the 2 bands that most influenced Toshiki Masuda's music, by far. If you pay a closer attention to the album itself, you will find that the album leans more towards what Pornografiti would do in the early noughties, more so than Flow. because the sound is more nostalgic, it's more simplistic in terms of the delivery, and even the way that Toshiki Masuda is singing throughout the album actually emulates the way that the frontman from Pornografiti actually sings like. So these are too many coincidences to just be an inspiration. Hikari is a really good song with a strong bass line, which I love a whole lot. You may already know by now that I love good bass lines. And if you want one that is driving, it is pulsing, and it is basically creating a warmth in the instrumental, this is the one for you. And you actually open this album really strongly, and you know that by far, if the song is quite nostalgic, the rest of the album will have a similar tone. But then again, the album is called Origin, so we are basically looking back in time, not towards or forward. This is an interesting detail that of course ties up pretty neatly with the title. When it comes to this song, I love the way that it sounds. It's not my favorite song of his, but it is a really strong song and leading track for the album. And when you look at it, there are a couple of songs that would have fit better as leading tracks in my opinion. But this one actually is the most welcoming for people that may not be as big fans of rock music as I am, for example. Seeing as the rock sound in this song is really welcoming, simple, and not too intense or aggressive, so you will enjoy this one, especially if you are not a fan of rock music. You will get to understand why Toshiki Masuda actually sounds really well when it comes to rock music, and at the same time you will get a really soft version of rock music for you to enjoy, alongside his vibrato vocals, which is something that I love a whole lot. Then we have Buriki no Hana, and this song is insanely fast, crazy, and actually the speed in this album goes like a roller coaster. Sometimes you are with songs that are really slow, other times you really crank up the speed and you have songs that are crazy fast, and he actually mixed and matched that pretty well throughout the album, keeping you on your toes. In this case, when it comes to Buriki no Hana, the song is really fast, drums are insanely fast, the guitars are crazy, the bass is also really crazy, and the transitions between the sections are insane. We have a lot of things going on in this song. And one of the things that actually stood out for me the most was not necessarily the speed. Of course, the speed creates a really good contrast with the first song, which was not that fast. But in this case, what stood out to me was how the song was performed. On the vocal end, usually Toshiki Masuda has a unique way to sing, and it sounds like he is usually straining his voice, maybe because he lacks confidence, maybe because he hasn't found his own tone as a singer, which is crazy because he can perform opera music, he can perform musicals, and people already have watched and listened to him perform in musicals, and he has an amazing voice. But when it comes to performing his own music, he still sounds a little bit contained, a bit nervous in some way about what he's showing, and he doesn't necessarily sing with a lot of confidence, and you can tell that when he's performing a song. In this case, when he performs Buriki no Hana, a thing that I loved a whole lot was not necessarily that he was straining his voice or sounding like he was straining his voice or was not confident, but it was because he started whispering the vocals, and that's, for starters, that's incredibly sexy. And then, at the same time, it is something that he usually doesn't do, even for 2D music projects, so it was refreshing to hear that happening. Then we have Ordinary, and I feel this is one of the best songs he has in this album. It is a personal favorite of mine. This one is a song that actually sounds like an 80s or 90s, or late 80s, early 90s pop rock tune. It is really elegant, it mixes a simple pop rock sound with strings and synths. And you feel that it has a sort of a city pop vibe inspiring the whole rock. It is rock fusion at its best. This is a song that actually takes you back in time, and I feel that this is a song that really captures really well that nostalgia, because nostalgia can be going back in time, revisiting eras, revisiting memories. In this case, it feels like revisiting an era, and we are revisiting the 80s and the 90s, and it is really fun in terms of the sound that we get. It is really funky at times, the bass line is crazy good, and of course, Toshiki Masuda complements that with a really smooth vibrato. One of the things that I love the most about his voice is that vibrato, and it really impresses a whole lot. This is a song that is rather contained in this performance when it comes to the vocals, but I feel that the chorus shines through with a lot of energy and color to it. Honestly, this is one of my favorite songs of Toshiki Masuda. By far, I would say that it is, alongside Moso Merry-Go-Round, which is the next song in this CD, it is one of my favorites. And of course, we are going to Moso Merry-Go-Round. This is a crazy song. This is easily the song that says that Toshiki Masuda was inspiring himself in Akihito Okano's singing style. Akihito Okano is Pornographity's frontman, and the way that the vowels were open, the way that he's accentuating everything when he's performing, it is a carbon copy of how Pornography sound on the vocals and instrumental-wise. This song is insane. If you like those types of songs that are fast, really unpredictable, crazy, and with a really good groove, because this song actually makes you want to dance, although this is not a danceable song per se, because it is rock, and there's nothing here that will actually make you go to the dance floor. But this is a really fun one. It will make you want to dance along to it, which is crazy. I never thought I would say this when I reviewed this CD, but then again, he then released another single, and he actually released a song with a sort of a Latin style that actually was pretty danceable, so it works with Toshiki Masuda. Then we have Orange, and of course this was a song that actually broke a little bit of the pacing in the album, because this is an acoustic one. It is heartfelt, but it feels more like a lullaby than a ballad. It is really slow, gentle, sweet. Of course, it is melancholic as well. You will not stop listening to this word when I'm talking about this CD. Sorry. But this is a song that will send chills down your spine, because it is rare for Toshiki Masuda to perform a song like this, and perform a song like this so emotionally and heartfelt. His voice actually suits this style of music, which is more lullaby-ish than just a feel-good song or a rock tune that will have you jumping around or crazy dancing around. This is actually a really smooth, gentle one, and it fits really well with his voice. His voice is actually pretty gentle. Then we have Nichijou, and Nichijou is one of those songs that actually has a massive bass line. I feel that this is one of those songs that you want to press play in your car and drive into the sunset. Basically, it's one of those songs that belongs in a playlist for a road trip. For me, it feels like that. It is carefree, it is fun, it is mundane in a really good sense, and there's a lot of focus on the good vibes more so than on a specific message. So this song feels to me more like an intermission, more so than a piece within the album. Then again, it is a full-fledged song with 3 minutes long. That's not to question that and actually call it immediately an intermission, because intermissions are usually shorter. But it feels like an intermission in terms of the tone itself. Then we have Life Goes On. Life Goes On is a really fun song with trumpets. I feel that we have jazzy piano melodies and funky guitar riffs. It is a song that actually has a sort of a ska vibe. That's a really fun sound to have in rock music. In this case, Life Goes On brings a little bit of that. It's not a full-fledged ska song, but it does have those glimpses, and I find this really fun to listen to. Then we have Koe ni Naranai Koe, and we are back with another fast-paced song, which is crazy. And yes, I really put an effort in those R's. But yeah, this is a song that is so aggressive, intense in the intro, and that is quite impressive, because out of nowhere, the song really goes soft. I like when this happens, because you are expecting the song to get crazier and crazier as the time goes by, and then you notice that the song actually quiets down and creates a really interesting space for the artist to express themselves. And in this case, the song has influences, I would say, of Asian Kung Fu Generation. If you know the band in question, you will know what I'm talking about. If you don't, please go check it out. They are a pop-punk band, and this sound is actually pop-punk, which is really fast, crazy, chaotic, but the sound, the lyrics are really catchy, which is something that it is lent from pop music. This is a song that is really fun to listen to. There's some really cool things going on in the drums. I'm a geek about the little details, so we have those rim shots going on in the drums, which is something that you usually don't have as much in pop rock music, and especially for music by male SEIYUU artists. It's not really that common because, well, You want the music to be straightforward, you don't want to create something different within melodies that are easily recognizable or easy listening. So in this case, it was interesting to find that here. When it comes to the vocals are also with a dash of something nostalgic and old school. I feel that the way that the vocals were treated, especially with the muffling, is something that worked pretty well, but it comes off as a bit flat. If you know how Toshiki Masuda usually sings, which is not with a lot of emotion, he already sounds slightly flat to begin with, but in this song he sounds particularly flat. This may be something that may not work that well, but for me, I feel that the intention with this song actually makes that this flatness in the vocals, in the emotion, actually matches the vibe in the song. So this is one thing that may sound a bit weird when you listen to for the very first time, but I feel that this flatness in the emotion and the lack of emotion for the most part in this performance actually fit well with the lyrics and the concept behind this song. Then we have Asuakito, and this song is beautiful. This is one of those ballads that you actually need to add to your playlist if you are a ballad fan. Of course, this song is really made to motivate you, to uplift you. Because midway through the song, he actually says you to lift your head and look in front of you because everything will be okay. This is motivational, and I don't know in what capacity this song actually could fit for Toshiki Masuda, seeing as SEIYUU artists or artists in general usually face a lot of scrutiny and sometimes they have to face imposter syndrome. So this may also be for himself more so than for the fans, but then again it feels like a song dedicated to his fans. So I feel that this is one of those songs that you need to listen if you are going through a bad day, because it will uplift you, it will motivate you, and of course it will make you cry because the song is really, really beautiful. And I feel one of the highlights in this album, and notice this, we came from a song which was really fast to a song which is really slow and incredibly emotional. I was saying that Toshiki Masuda usually is not too emotional in his performances, perhaps because he is holding back, because he's not that confident, but there are shades or times in which he has those flashes of greatness, and Asuakito is one of those flashes of greatness when it comes to performances. Then we have Ima Okoete, and this song is actually wrapping up the album with a lot of simplicity, so we are back again to the simplicity that we had as the opening of this album with Hikari, and this song actually makes the album come full circle. I like the way that the album was created. Ima Okoete is not necessarily the song that I love the most. It's actually the song that I feel that if we are going to pay closer attention to every single song in this album, this is the weakest one. But this is a really good way, if you look at the full album, to wrap up this release, because it makes the album come basically full circle. And this is something that it didn't have in Diver. It didn't have that consistency because the album felt like a collection of songs that really didn't follow anything in terms of song and of sound, of instrumentals or anything else. In this case, this album feels more put together, more carefully put together to actually convey a story in some capacity. It is the origin, so we are looking back in time, we are being nostalgic, we are revisiting things, we are actually bringing memories back to the spotlight, and we are actually making sure that the album starts and ends on the similar note so that the album is replayable, loopable. It makes you want to play it again, and you won't notice the difference between the first and the last song, so you basically will listen to it on loop. This is a technique, usually, for compositions to make the songs addictive or make a release addictive and for you to listen to it again and again and again. Usually, the technique goes either if the song starts in a way and ends in the same way and you can loop the song without noticing the song is starting again, or you have the album have the first and the last song sounding similar so that when the album ends and it starts playing the first one again, you don't notice the shift between the ending and the start of the album. It makes the album loopable. It adds a lot of value when it comes to the replayability of a CD. Because there are CDs that are good to listen to once, but when you listen to it twice, it no longer has the same impact. And there are albums that you listen to it once and you want to listen to it twice, and the album still has a lot of value and a lot of quality to deliver. I feel that Origin is one of those albums. when it comes to talking about this album as a whole, and now we are talking about the last impressions, I remember I said that Diver wasn't a perfect album. Far from it. It is an album with really big highs and big lows, and some of the songs are not really that good. In this case, in Origin, it is hard to find a song that you will love the most, because it will really depend on what you really love, but all the songs are really, really good. So the quality really went up drastically for this CD. That's what I was saying before. It feels like this one was deliberate. You really wanted to make this CD actually sound like a really strong composition from start to finish, even if he didn't write any songs in this CD or any compositions whatever in this CD. But there's a consistency from start to finish that Diver didn't have. There's a quality that Diver didn't have. And when it comes to the vocals, he sounds a bit more confident, but still not enough. And you will notice that when he released Midnight Dancer in 2022, it was basically night and day when he was performing Midnight Dancer in comparison with every single song that he performed in Origin. He was much, much more confident. So, this is a CD that is amazing. In my opinion, it's one of those underrated gems when it comes to pop rock music. And I feel that people often talk about Toshiki Masuda because of his looks. Of course, he is extremely handsome, let's admit it. But he has more to himself than just the looks. And I feel that while his voice is unbelievable in some 2D music projects, it tends to hold back a little bit when it comes to his music. I feel that he does this because he wants to give back to his fans, but he is not 100% with his heart in this, and that's why his performances sometimes come a bit short. That's at least my take on why he's sounding a bit flat at times, and why he usually holds back in his performances, when we all know, and it is available on YouTube if you want to check it out. There are snippets of him performing in musicals, and he has a powerful, really powerful voice that could be singing opera. And he actually never showcases that in his performances, the full prowess on the vocal end. Which I feel it is a bit weird, but then again, I'm not Toshiki Masuda, so I don't know what is behind his reason not to have a powerful delivery in his performances as a solo artist, when he actually does such an amazing job when it comes to his musical acting, and as well when it comes to perform into the music projects, and sometimes, most of the times, he impresses a whole lot. All in all, Origin is an amazing album. It deserves to be listened to from start to finish. I feel that when you are listening to this CD, nostalgia of course is a massive theme, but you have as well youth, dreams, fantasies, ambitions, defeat and hope all going on throughout this album. This is an album that is almost made to inspire younger people, I feel. And maybe to inspire a younger version of Toshiki Masuda, I feel. So this is a really interesting CD, and I believe that when Toshiki Masuda was promoting this, he actually talked about how this is a CD that showcases his rock origins, because he loves rock music and he wanted to showcase his influences and how much he is inspired by other artists such as Pornografiti, Asian Kung Fu, Generation Flow or Spitz. That basically helped create this album in some capacity, because he listened to that music so much, or those artists so much, that ended up influencing who he is as a solo artist. So this is all that I have to say about Toshiki Masuda's Origin. Now it's of course your time to talk about this album. Let me know if you like Toshiki Masuda's Origin, if you actually have listened to this album. And if you have a favorite song, which is your favorite song in this CD and why? I already told you that I love Moso Merry-Go-Round, I love Ordinary, and I love Asuakito. But there are so many amazing songs in this album that deserve all your attention. Let's go back to the script because I need to wrap up this episode, so let me know in the comments what you felt about this album, what you like about this album, and of course remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of SEIYUU Lounge. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the THTFHQ's weekly male SEIYUU and music-related content, hit the subscribe button. And if you are listening to this episode on a podcast listening platform, please consider following the podcast and leaving a review. Leaving a review is really simple and helps other people find this podcast and fall in love with male SEIYUU artists and 2D groups. I'll return next week with another episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Thank you for listening and see you guys around.